all crafty people out there. We have a new project. It's a very quick project. I don't know why I ever say that. Anyway, I have a ironing board that I've been using for years. My husband made it for me predominantly for quilting, actually. So it sits on top of my sewing table and I can iron right on it, and I'm sure you've seen it. It looks awful. It's got stains on it from ironing, all kinds of things. Y'all have seen it. It looks pretty rough, don't you think? So I've decided I'm going to replace the cover on it. And the cover is, it just simply snatches off like this. I've got a little binding around it that, this is my, heat-proof quilting right there. But it's just got a little binding around it that's got a string in it. It was my first time putting a cover on it. It's, like I said, it's had its day. So we're going to replace it with some cloth that I think, this may be outdoor cloth. It's at least more like a duck cloth, not real heavy, but it's heavier than your standard batik or cotton or whatever. So this is what we're going to put on it. We're going to make a little cover. The top is about 22.5 by 26.5, so shouldn't be too difficult. This will be plenty of fabric. And let's get started. Okay, like I said, we're going to replace the cover for my little portable ironing board that I use on this tabletop all the time. And I'm going to measure it just to make sure. And I'm going to measure it from underneath here to know how far down I want the cover to go. And then, so it'll cover all sides. And this time I'm going to be smart and I'm going to put elastic in it so it just snaps on like a fitted sheet. So if I go under here, let's say I want to go in maybe that far and that far. So that's 30 inches this way. It's hard to see. But what I'm doing is I'm measuring it from here to here just to know how much I want it to pull in. And then I'm probably going to add maybe an inch to that because I'm going to make a casing for my elastic. So 31 inches. And then from here to here, it's a rectangle, it's not a square. It's just a piece of plywood that we put together, or he put together for me, and we covered it in this heat resistant quilting. So that is about 26 inches. So I'm going to do 27 inches this way. So 27 and 31. So now we know how big we need our piece of fabric. I'm going, actually, you know what? I'm going to actually just use this right now and iron my fabric. And once I iron my fabric, then we'll cut it out to the 31 by 27 inch measurement. I'm just going to put a quick iron on it to make sure that I don't have too many wrinkles in it. So, and I'm probably going to try and get that center crease out of it. Let's see. I think it'll be a cool fabric. Not too distracting, hopefully, when we're ironing. All right. I am going to throw the heat on it, and I'll be right back when we're cutting it up. Okay, what I figured we might do first is I folded it in half lengthwise, not where the salvages were meeting, and it was, how you'd usually get it off the bolt. I folded it the opposite way. The reason I did that is I wanted to figure out exactly where that 27 and 31 would be best served. So I am going to let this be the 31, and I'm going to do 27 this way, 27 inches. That was probably as clear as mud when I said all that. Just fold the fabric to get yourself to 27 and 31, or whatever size you need. Like I said, this same principle could probably be applied to fitted sheets, like for cribs, or I have one in there for a pack and play that my grandchildren have really enjoyed. Thanks to my brother donating that after his children were done with it. So I'm going to go to 27 inches here and cut this. And I have a nice bit of fabric left over, which is a really cool little fabric. And now I know I have 27 inches this way. I just need to make sure I've got 31 inches this way. And I am using the selvage because, in all honesty, this is going to be underneath my ironing board. It's also an ironing board. So, that being said. So now I'm going to fold this in half. And this will just give me a little bit more control over the size of this piece of fabric. And I need 31 inches this way. So, let's see. I'm going to line it up here on my grid. Pull my ruler out. And I'm going to line it up over here on the side. This ironing board, this self-healing board is, I couldn't do anything without it. Seems like I'm constantly using it for exactly what it's good for, measuring and cutting. So I'm going to cut, just going to cut this end straight here, like this. Make sure. This just gives me a straight edge. Not that it's uber important. And then I'm going to go down to my 31 inch mark here, because we did 31 by 27. I'm going to cut this. Right. So that minimizes my waist. And this is our 31 by 27 inch piece of fabric. So now we're going to put a little casing around the edge, all the way around the edge, and we're going to run elastic in it. And I'm going to say that we're going to be done, but you know how that goes. We might have to take up the corners. I don't think we will, because this is such a small piece. Now, if we were doing it on a mattress, we would have to take that corner into account, the depth of that corner. But this is just going over the edge of a board, so I don't think we'll have to do that. Okay, made an executive decision. I am going to round the corners, but instead of folding the fabric to make the casing, I'm just going to use some single fold bias tape. Good old single fold. I told y'all the other day when I showed you how to make bias tape, I use this prepackaged stuff all the time, so there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. And this is real easy to make a casing out of, and it'll be more than enough for my 1/4 inch elastic. So this will be perfect. I am going to cut this edge though. I am going to round this corner. And I think I might just do it kind of freehand. Use the plate there. And let's see if I can get it to work. Again, need to break out the blades and replace some. There we go. Voila! Now I have the rounded corners on all 4 corners because I just folded it together. And I'm going to go over to the machine and start adding this bias. And I hope this is going to work. Let's test it real quick. Let's put our fabric down like this. Let's do it like this so we can get a better view of it. Alright, and let's put our, let's see. Sorry, y'all are kind of crooked right now. I didn't line you up real quick. Okay. So it will definitely fold up over all the edges. So this is going to be fine. Even with the edges rounded, I think it'll be fine. So let's get to putting that casing together. And all we're going to do with that, this is kind of old. It was $1.40. I don't know how old it is. I'm not even sure where this came from. But this single fold bias tape, what's great about it is it's folded towards the middle from both sides. Can you see that? So what it does is I'm going to open one side and I'm going to run a seam down that fold up against my fabric like this. So it's going to be like this. And I'm going to run a seam. Actually, it's going to be like this. Sorry. It's hard to do it from upside down. So it's going to raw edges to raw edges. I'm going to run a seam right down this crease. And then I will be able to fold it over and create that casing for our elastic. I know it's clear as mud right now. But it is the best way to do this and turn this corner, because remember, biased is stretchy. All right, I'm trying to get y'all a good view. What I'm doing is this is the right side of the fabric, and I am sewing this bias tape right onto the right side, raw edges meeting, and I'm opening up this part of this the fold, and that's the fold I'm going to stitch down. I'm using it as my stitch line. So just want to show y'all, I've got an inch back here that's not going to be sewn down, and that part is because, one, I need an opening to put the elastic in, and two, I'll have to join it with the other piece. So anyway, I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to back stitch, and I'm just running right down that fold. And I'm making sure that the raw edges are together as I'm sewing. If I was doing something more intricate, you know, I might pin it beforehand, but I'm just running this directly off the spool and going down that seam line and making sure it's touching at all points. The reason I wanted to show you this part is I'm going to try to show you how this bias tape comes in handy when it comes to going around curves. So we're coming to the corner here where we're going to have to turn, and just take your time. There's no reason to rush. And just turn it slowly. I'd also recommend, if you've got a lot of turns, you may want to decrease the length of your stitch, because the sharper the turn and the shorter your stitch, the easier the process is, and you don't have to pick up and pivot as much. But this is a fairly gentle curve, so it's not so bad. And just slowly turning it, making sure you're keeping your needle going down that fold line so you don't lose any of the width of your bias tape for folding over and making your casing. And that's the corner there. So see, it curled out really nicely, or it stretched, maybe is what I'm thinking. And see, then when we're through, we'll be able to turn it under and make our casing. So let me finish running this all the way around, and we'll get back when we're going to turn it over and stitch it down for the elastic casing. All right, I've got the bias tape sewn all the way around the edges, and I left myself a little hole right here to put my elastic in. Now, I'm going to run the elastic off the spool, And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm not really sure how much I'm going to need to make this tight enough to fit snugly around the edge of the board. So it's easier just to run it and then tighten it after I've run it. So I'm going to put my good old safety pin on there. It's, real technical tool there. And I'm going to put it in here. Actually, I don't know how else you run elastic. I've never seen anybody do it any other way, but I'm sure there's some fancy tool out there. So this is a push and pull job. And as you can see, I have got quite a bit to go. So I'll come back when I'm through and we are testing out the stretch on the board. Okay, I've got the elastic run throughout the casing, and I've put it on the board to just check our sizing, make sure that we've got enough elastic in it and still have room to pop it off when I need to wash it. And it looks like it's good. I've pinned the two elastic pieces together here. So I'm going to clip this one with a little bit of a generous tail there. And I'm going to take it off. And I'm just going to go over to the machine and stitch those two ends together. And we will be done. And I will finally have a decent new ironing board cover. So let me go sew this little tidbit together. I'll be right back. I'll show you the finished product. Okay, all done. This is what she looks like. It's hard to see the whole board, but this turned out great with the elastic. I can take it off and wash it if I need to. It doesn't get in the way of the legs, which are just drawer handles. And I can always tell which is the long side because this is the salvage side. It happens to be the long side. So it should be easy to put on and off or take on and off. So not too bad. A short video, but a useful skill running elastic, making casing, and possibly even doing this for things like crib sheets and stuff like that. So if you like this kind of content, like, subscribe, let me know what you think, and we will see each other on the flip side of our next project.